Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain a 2017 horror film titled Veronica. Heads up, spoilers ahead, you've been warned. The movie begins with emergency services rushing to an apartment in Madrid on the night of June 15, 1991. Police officers arrive at the building after receiving a distressing call from a young girl. When they enter the home, they find the place completely destroyed. Furniture is overturned, objects are scattered everywhere, and it is clear something terrible has happened. The officers hear screaming coming from inside and quickly move toward the sound. Inside, they witness something disturbing that shocks them completely. The scene is chaotic, and what they are seeing is not yet revealed. The story then shifts back 3 days earlier to June 12, 1991. A teenage girl named Veronica wakes up early in the morning in her small apartment. She immediately begins her daily routine of waking up her younger siblings. She has twin sisters named Irene and Lucia, and a little brother named Antonito. Their father passed away not long ago, and their mother works long hours at a bar to support the family. With their mother away most of the time, Veronica has taken on the responsibility of caring for her siblings. She makes them breakfast, helps them get dressed, and prepares them for school. Before leaving the house, Veronica quietly enters her mother's bedroom and takes a photograph of her late father. She misses him deeply. At school that day, the teachers were preparing the students to witness a solar eclipse. During a lesson, one of the teachers explains the history and meaning of eclipses. She tells the class that in ancient times, people believed solar eclipses were moments when the barrier between the living world and the spirit world was at its weakest. Some cultures even performed rituals and sacrifices during eclipses, believing they could summon spirits or communicate with the dead. Ancient history class just turned into a step-by-step guide for summoning something nobody asked for. Veronica listens carefully to this information, but her thoughts slowly begin to drift. She exchanges notes with her best friend Rosa, and the two of them appear to be planning something secretive. When the time comes for the students to go to the rooftop to observe the eclipse, Veronica does not join them. Instead, she quietly sneaks away to the school basement with Rosa and another girl named Diana. Diana recently lost her boyfriend in a motorcycle accident and is desperate to contact him. Veronica, on the other hand, wants to speak with her deceased father. The three girls have brought a Ouija board, also known as a spirit board, hoping to communicate with the dead. Because nothing says smart decision like summoning spirits during a solar eclipse in a school basement, they carefully lay the board out on the floor and place a glass cup on top of it. The girls place their fingers on the glass and close their eyes. Veronica sets the photograph of her father beside the board as a personal item to help establish a connection. As the solar eclipse begins outside, the girls ask if any spirits are present. Within seconds, the glass starts to move across the board. The atmosphere in the basement grows tense and unsettling. The glass begins to heat up rapidly, burning the fingers of Rosa and Diana. They quickly pull their hands away in pain, but Veronica keeps her fingers pressed firmly against the glass, determined to continue. Suddenly, the glass shatters, cutting Veronica's finger. Blood drips down onto the Ouija board. At that exact moment, the eclipse reaches totality, and darkness surrounds everything. Veronica begins to whisper strange words in a voice that does not sound like her own. Her body suddenly goes limp, and she collapses onto the floor. Rosa leans in closer and hears Veronica muttering something frightening, but she cannot clearly understand the words. Then, without any warning, Veronica suddenly sits up and screams loudly. The lights in the basement flicker violently and then burst. Diana runs upstairs to get help. Rosa remains frozen beside Veronica in fear. When Veronica regains consciousness, she is lying in the school infirmary. A nurse examines her and suggests she may have fainted due to low iron levels or stress. Absolutely right, because iron deficiency usually makes lights explode and glass shatter. Veronica knows something else has happened, but she does not share her concerns. As she leaves the school with her siblings, she notices the school's blind nun standing nearby. The nun is known among the students as Sister Death. Despite being blind, the nun seems to be staring directly at Veronica, as if she can see something that others cannot. This unsettles Veronica, but she says nothing and heads home with her siblings. When the blind character sees more than everyone else, it is time to be concerned. That evening, strange things begin to happen in the apartment. During dinner, Veronica tries to eat, but her hand freezes in midair. She struggles to bring the fork to her mouth, as if some invisible force is preventing her from moving. Her sister Irene accidentally spills milk, and the moment breaks. Veronica snaps out of it, but she is confused and frightened. Later, while washing clothes in the sink, she notices bruises on her shoulders and arms. Apparently, the ghost already started leaving reviews. The marks look like claw scratches, and she has no memory of how they got there. That night, while bathing Antonito, Veronica hears a loud noise coming from her bedroom. Thinking her sisters are playing around, she goes to check. When she enters the room, no one is there. She tries to leave, but the door slams shut and locks behind her. She hears Antonito screaming from the bathroom and desperately tries to get out. After struggling with the door, she finally manages to open it and rushes back to the bathroom. She finds Antonito in the bathtub, crying in pain. The water has turned scalding hot, and his skin is burned. Veronica quickly pulls him out and applies ointment to his burns. Antonito insists that he did not touch the faucet, and Veronica believes him, though she cannot explain what is happening. Later that night, Veronica has a terrible nightmare. She dreams that her father is calling her name. He appears naked and pale, walking toward her with his arms outstretched. Then, charred hands emerge from her bed and drag her down, choking her. She wakes up gasping for air, terrified and disoriented. The next day at school, Veronica tries to communicate with Rosa, but her friend avoids her. Rosa and Diana are too frightened to talk about what happened in the basement. Feeling isolated and desperate for answers, Veronica returns to the basement. There, she encounters Sister Death. The nun asks Veronica what she is holding, and Veronica realizes that despite being blind, the nun can sense the photograph in her hand. Sister Death tells Veronica that what they did was extremely dangerous. She explains that Veronica did not contact her father during the Ouija board session. Instead, she opened a door for something dark and dangerous. Sister Death warns that Veronica's siblings are now in danger and that she must protect them at all costs. The nun holds up a crucifix and attempts to cast out the spirit, but her efforts fail. She tells Veronica that the evil presence is too strong. Frightened and confused, Veronica goes home and searches for information about how to protect her family. She finds an occult magazine that explains how to ward off evil spirits. She copies protective symbols from the magazine and hangs them in her siblings' bedroom. That evening, a downstairs neighbor comes to complain. She tells Veronica that it sounds like people are stomping and dancing on the floor above her. She also mentions a strange stain that has appeared on her ceiling, directly below Veronica's bedroom. Veronica is left confused, unable to explain what is happening. Later that night, while hanging laundry, Veronica hears a voice come through her sister's walkie-talkie. The voice tells her to help her siblings because she is the one who summoned the devil. Panicked, she runs to her sister's room and sees a dark shadow entering. When she gets there, Irene and Lucia are asleep in their beds. As she turns to leave, she notices a shadowy figure moving along the wall. The protective symbols she hung earlier are burning. So much for the magazine's 5 easy steps to a demon-free household. Suddenly, a hand emerges from the darkness and begins choking Lucia. Veronica tries to stop it, but when the spirit disappears, her sisters believe that Veronica was the one hurting them. Veronica insists that there is something in the house that they cannot see. She moves all of her siblings into the living room to sleep together. Later that night, their mother comes home from work and is startled to find the children in the living room. The children tell her that something has been in the house, but say only Veronica saw it. Their mother does not believe them. Veronica tries to explain what happened with the Ouija board, but her mother dismisses it as nonsense and tells her to grow up. Nothing defeats ancient evil faster than a strict parenting speech. That night, Veronica has another nightmare. She dreams that her siblings are eating her alive and Antonito is choking her. When she wakes up, she finds blood on her bed and realizes that she has gotten her first period. She tries to clean the mattress, but the stains do not come off. So she turns the mattress over. Soon she discovers a burnt mark underneath it. The mark is shaped like a human body. Horrified, she checks the mattresses of all her siblings and finds the same marks on each one. Veronica leaves her siblings at her mother's workplace before heading to school. She finds Sister Death again in the basement. The nun reveals that she once blinded herself in an attempt to stop seeing evil spirits, but it did not work. She tells Veronica that crosses and symbols will not stop the entity. So the demon clearly skipped beginner mode. Sister Death warns that Veronica must act quickly before it is too late. The nun tells her the answer is in the book. Veronica immediately reads the book and learns that the only way to banish it is to complete the Ouija board session and properly say goodbye. Desperate, Veronica goes to Rosa's house, where a party is happening. She begs Rosa and Diana to help her perform the session again, but they refuse. Rosa reveals what Veronica whispered in the basement that day. She said that she would die in 3 days. 3-day countdowns are never a comforting update. Veronica is shaken by this revelation and realizes that time is running out. She goes to her mother's workplace and pleads with her to come home, but her mother is too busy and promises to spend time with her the next day. Heartbroken, Veronica returns home and decides to take matters into her own hands. She repairs the broken Ouija board and gathers her siblings. She tells them they are going to play a game. She instructs Antonito to draw protective symbols on the walls of the hallway. However, Antonito gets bored of drawing the same symbol, so he turns the page and draws a different symbol. This symbol does not protect them. Instead, it invites dark forces into the house. One creative drawing just upgraded the situation to nightmare difficulty. Veronica and her sisters sit down and place their fingers on the glass. They ask if the spirit is present, and it responds. Veronica tells the spirit that they have come to say goodbye, but the spirit refuses to leave. The candles flicker and go out. Strange noises begin to fill the apartment. The children start singing a soft song, as instructed by the occult magazine, but the noises grow louder. The door suddenly bursts open, the Ouija board breaks again, and the glass rolls across the floor. Veronica follows it into her bedroom. She shines a flashlight on her mattress, and suddenly a hand reaches out from beneath it. The figure tries to drag her inside. Veronica screams and breaks free from it. She then runs back to her siblings. In a state of panic, Veronica calls the police and tells them that someone has broken into the house. Moments later, the entity snatches Antonito and drags him away. Veronica chases after him, but she trips and loses consciousness. When she wakes up, she finds Antonito sitting near the bathtub and carries him out. She gathers her sisters and tries to leave the apartment. As they reach the door, Veronica glances at a mirror and realizes that she is not holding Antonito. It was only an illusion. She tells her sisters to leave and goes back inside to find him. Veronica finds Antonito hiding inside a closet, covering his ears and calling her name like she taught him. He does not recognize her or respond to her voice. Veronica suddenly realizes the horrifying truth. She has been possessed all along. She was the one who burned Antonito in the bathtub, choked Lucia, and caused all the terror in the house. The spirit has been controlling her without her knowledge. Determined to protect her brother, Veronica grabs a shard of broken glass and tries to cut her own throat. The demon stops her and forces its arm into her mouth. It chokes her from the inside. At that moment, the police officers arrive. They see Veronica being attacked by an invisible force. Her body is lifted into the air and violently dropped to the floor. One officer rushes to grab Antonito and carries him to safety. Another officer checks on Veronica and calls for paramedics. Outside, Veronica's mother arrives and sees her daughter being carried out on a stretcher. Veronica's injuries are severe. In the apartment, the chief detective finds a framed photograph of Veronica on the floor. When he picks it up, it burns his hand. Then the photo suddenly bursts into flames on its own. The lights in the apartment suddenly turn back on. The detective receives word over the radio that Veronica has died. And that is the moment everyone realized this was not just teenage drama. In the final scene, the film reveals that the events are based on a true case in Spain. It was the first police case in which officers officially reported witnessing paranormal activity. 2 officers had to leave the scene due to nausea, and the chief detective requested a transfer 2 months later because of what he experienced that night. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.